Hey guys, welcome back to another video here on my YouTube channel. We are doing another book review. We're actually going to review a book that just came out like a few days ago. It is the fifth and final book in the Vancouver Storm series by Stephanie Archer. We have Wild Card. Oh, go ahead and get into focus. So this actually follows Coach Tate Ward and the owner's daughter, Jordan Hathaway. We actually learn about her. We see her throughout the other books, but she is actually the owner of a bar that all of the hockey players like on the team frequents whenever like after a game, and we kind of know her as somebody who's not a huge fan of hockey and tries to keep hockey out of the bar, but we kind of learn that it's because of a strained relationship with her father, who is the owner of the Vancouver Storm. Now, I don't remember which book we learned that her father is the owner. I don't know if it's in the first or later on in one of the books, but yes. So how I bought this series, I was actually at Indigo last year. I want to say, like, when did I go? Oh yeah, I went in like November, and I was like looking through books, and I saw this series, and I was like, this artwork is familiar, and I looked on the back and I realized the artist that draws these characters also draws the characters for Chelsea Curto's series, the DC Star series, and I love the way she draws her characters. If I ever put out a book, because I am in the process of starting to write a book, because I'm not great at writing, but I just want to do it for fun. I would love, if I would ever put out a book, to have her draw them, because the way she draws the guys, they're all like, there's different ways that you can draw characters. Like there's these which like definitely look like more on the cartoon level, but there's something about these, like these look like realistic guys that were just done in like a drawn format. Like they don't look cartoon, they just look like if you did somebody realistic but like drew them in a way that you could tell was drawn but also realistic. So I was like, I think I'm gonna like this series just because and I know it's like a weird thing to say, like, oh, I'm gonna like this series just because it's the same artist that drew the character art, but I was right. I truly did enjoy this series. Now, here is my ranking of this book. I rated this book 4.5 stars because for me, any book I rate below 4 stars means no bueno. It means I'm not going to recommend it to you. I would suggest you can go without reading it. If I rate a book 4 stars, it's my, like, it was okay. I still enjoyed it. I might read more books in the series, but like I wasn't wowed by it. So like 4 stars is like a mediocre rating for me. I don't know why. It's just the way I rate my books. So if I rate something 4.5 stars or 5 stars, that means I did enjoy it. Now, some books can be rated 4.5 stars and I truly enjoyed it, and there's only like minor things about it, and some books are 4.5 stars and I was like, the ending was great and saved the book, that's why it's 4.5 stars. But here's my issue. So let's talk about this book and kind of why I rated 4.5 stars. Now, this one has forced proximity, which is one of my favorite tropes, and I think it was done sort of okay here. It wasn't my favorite form of forced proximity, but wasn't my least favorite. Here's my issue. So it follows, like I said, Tate Ward, who is the head coach of the Vancouver Storm, and Jordan Hathaway, who is the owner of the Filthy Flamingo, a bar that the team frequents. But she, like I said, she's also the daughter of the owner. And she learns from Tate, because Tate visits her once a month, at her father's request, because she's kind of like estranged from her father. So Tate ends up informing her that her father wants to sell the team. He kind of like wants to step away. And I think the only way that he might not sell a team is if she would just speak to her father, because her father ideally would like her to take over the team, but because they're estranged, she just has no interest in taking over the team, and just no interest, like she's trying to like back away from hockey. So he's like, maybe if you talk to your father. So her father was like, then she goes to her father, because she knows that like if her father sells the team, there's a risk that Tate Ward would lose his job, because somebody new would come in and want to shake things up, and that a lot of the players who had become like a family would be traded. And so she was like, she loves like the family that has been created through the team, and she doesn't want that to happen because she's friends with everybody. They come into her bar, so she's like, I'll talk to my father. Sorry, I just need to take a drink of water. Talking a lot makes me thirsty. She goes to her father. Your father makes a deal that's like, if you come and you work for the team and you help us win the Stanley Cup, like I might not sell the team. Like we could maybe sell it, we could work out some kind of deal. So she's like, okay, I'm gonna do it, just because she knows she doesn't want the found family that's within the Vancouver Storm team to be broken up by a potential sale. By the way, we learned, I think in the 4th book in the series, that he doesn't like her, like it's also like an enemies to lovers sort of thing. Which, by the way, I was actually surprised when I learned that. And then I got surprised again when I read it in this book, and he talks about like, oh, I don't like her at first, because I'm like, that's not the vibe I got when I read like the first 3 books. Like, obviously she's like a side character, and so is he, like, so we don't see a lot of their interaction, but I never like initially got the vibe that like he didn't like her. I thought he actually had a thing for her, and not that like, and it wasn't that like a enemies to lovers. But then when I read this book, it'd been a while since I'd read the series, so I think I finished the series in November or beginning of December, so it'd been a little while. So when it mentioned again that he didn't like her, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So it also has not just forced proximity, but enemies to lovers, which, like I've said previously, I'm a sucker for a good forced proximity, and this had that. She ends up living in his guest house, and I'll explain like how that happened without spoiling too much. So basically, one night she goes out to the alley, and the back alley to throw out some trash, and she sees something scurry by, ends up being a cat, and she takes the cat back to her place because she was like, oh, you know, like, I don't think this cat should stay out here. The cat doesn't like her, like, scratches her, but she's like, can't just leave this cat out here. Cat doesn't look to be in the best of shape, so she takes the cat back to her place. But she mentioned previously that her landlord had been reno-evicting, which is basically evicting the tenant and then renovating the places and then charging more for it. And so eventually one night she goes, it's raining, he's closing up the bar, he's still there. He was like, well, I'm not gonna let you walk 3 blocks in the rain, and I'll drive you to your place. Drives to her place, and she sees that all of her stuff is outside of the building, right at the front door, and there's a post up on her door, like she's being evicted because she has a cat and she's not supposed to have animals there. So that's when he like immediately is like, oh, well, you can come back, and like she's like, oh, I might stay at a hotel or something. He's like, you can come back and stay at my guest house. And so that's sort of like how the forced proximity happens. He's also, by the way, a single dad to a young girl, and I'm a sucker for the single parent trope. I don't know if it's because I come from a single mother, so like that might have something to do with it. An age gap too. I think she's like 10 years younger than him, which at first, like, it's subtle, the age gap. Like, it's mentioned a couple times, but like it's not really like a big thing throughout. So like, I wouldn't say the age gap trope is like the major trope in here. I would say the major trope is a little bit of like enemies to lovers, forced proximity, and then like single dad. Those are like more major than the age gap tropes. So my issue with this book is the scene. You know, like how often when you read these books, especially, this is a slow burn, by the way, there's always like the fuck it scene where it's like, finally, like sometimes it's literally where like the character will say, oh, fuck it, and then it's like, okay, I'm gonna like go all in, and then sometimes it's not, they don't actually use the word, but you just know it's like, oh, finally. It happened in chapter 64. I'm just gonna figure out what page number that was. Where's chapter 64? Happened at chapter 64, page chapter 64 starts at page 301, but actually happened at the end of the chapter. So that would be page 303. I was reading, so it happens here. Like, if we're looking at the length of the book, it happens here. For some reason, and like, it happening here is not super uncommon in will they, won't they books, because it's just like, you know, it's just how it goes. You know, sometimes like the third act is where it finally happens. But I had been reading quite a few books where things were happening before then. So I was actually getting physically frustrated at how long it took. And it's why it's probably like my least favorite book in the series. But the ending, like once it happened, and again, it was still slow. Like there was small moments throughout. But like this part of the book was great. And like some parts in this were great. But like, why did it take, like, and finally he's like, oh, like later on, like at one point he's like, oh, I love her, and I'm like, this feels too soon to feel that when you have had very few like truly intimate like relationship reactions, like relationship moments with her. But I was frustrated when I was like, chapter 64 is like, took us 64 chapters. 64. Now I know this is only a 441 page book, and so there are a lot of chapters in here because I think the author tends to like do like different, like each scene sometimes gets its own chapter, which I get, like that kind of makes sense. So I'm like, even though it's 64 chapters, it's still only 442 books, so it's like not a super long book. But I would have liked for the you know, like finally we're gonna go ahead and like maybe try a relationship. I would like for that moment to have happened before the 64th chapter. I'm just saying. So that's probably why I rated this one 4.5 stars. I didn't want to rate it 4 stars. I was debating whether 4.5 or 4 stars, but I really did like the end, and I liked the relationship that she was starting to develop with his daughter, and how she stood up to one of his daughter's bullies at school, and how she was worried about like how he was going to react to that, and how maybe he was going to be upset that she shouldn't have like had that kind of reaction and done that. And he was like, yeah, it probably wasn't like the best example, but he was like, thank you for sticking up for my daughter, and you know, that meant a lot to me and to her. And so like there were like moments like towards this part of the book is when there were a lot of great moments. And so that's what gave it the 4.5 stars, because I think I might have said it in a previous video, my last video, that like for me, any book like 3.5 stars or below is a not good book. I wouldn't recommend it to you. 2 stars is like, this is really an awful book. 4 stars is like, this was an okay book, somewhat enjoyable, but like not my favorite, kind of mediocre, kind of meh, maybe a little bit boring. 4.5 stars can mean a couple of things. It can mean a really great book, but there were like a couple things, small things that I had issues with, and like or it could also mean it was a so-so book at the beginning, but like the ending redeemed it, which is what also happened with the 4th book in the series. Like the ending was great, so that's what redeemed it and gave it 4.5 stars. And then like 5 stars is like a 10 out of 10 favorite book, enjoyed it, and 6 stars is like whoa, that's probably like my favorite book I've read this year. So I give this one a solid 4.5 stars. The author did like, I was reading something on social media about people being surprised about the ending of this book, and I do wonder, because this is the last book in the series, but she does sneak peek a potential couple that could make a 6th book in the series, but I believe this is the final book in the series, so I'm interested to see if that's going to start its own series somehow. That would be interesting to see. But yeah, so I give this one a solid 4.5 stars. I did like the whole series, so I think if you're going to read the whole series, I would read this one. And some people might like the super long slow burn, and I was talking with my friends about it. I was like, this one, chapter 64, and they're like, but a slow burn is good, and I'm like, yes. You're like, because of the moments that happen throughout. I'm like, I agree with you. In a slow burn, you get a lot of different moments that happen, and this one did have some of those moments, but there wasn't enough to warrant the slow burn being as long as it was. So that's why I'm gonna rate it 4.5 stars. But other than that, I did enjoy the ending, which I think saved the book. So that is all for my review on The Wild Card. If you want to see more videos from me, you can hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss a brand new video from me. If you want to give me recommendations for other hockey romance series you think I should read, that I maybe haven't read already, put those in the comments, because I'm always willing to discover new series, especially if they're independently published authors. I would love to support independently published authors or Canadian authors as a fellow Canadian myself. You can follow me at RomanceBLVD, which stands for Romance Boulevard, on Instagram, and at Romance Boulevard fully spelled out on TikTok. And that is all for the video. Bye!